This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to the sweltering hot desert. We're going to be building some things. There were some stones from the quarry. We're going to be building some pyramids, some temples, and some other things. Today we're taking a look at Imhotep. This is for 2 to 4 players, takes about 40 minutes to play. From Cosmos Game, it was just nominated for the Spiele Des Jahres award, Game of the Year in Germany. So let's take a look and see how it's played, and then I'll come back with my final thoughts. At the beginning of Imhotep, everybody gets a sled of their color of choice and a certain number of blocks to start depending on what turn order they start in. Now here's the different colors: white, gray, brown, and black. The first thing I noticed when I opened this box was how huge these were. These didn't look this big on the videos I had seen. Here's a typical cube in Pandemic, a black one, and look at the size of the blocks. These things are huge, chunky bits, and they are awesome. Turns go clockwise, and you can do one of 4 things on your turn. You can take up to 3 blocks from the quarry to put on your sled, and you can only have 5 as the max. So if you take this action with less than 3 slots there, you still just fill up to 5 total. A different single action you could take is adding one of your blocks to any one of the open spots on a ship. For example, I'll put it here. Notice that when people place, you don't have to place in the front or the back, you place in any open spot. Also notice there's always going to be 4 boats here, and these boats are signified by this card. This card changes every round, and there's different cards for the different amount of players. The other thing you can do on your turn is, instead of placing a block, you can actually move a ship, assuming it has enough blocks. This ship needs a minimum of 1, this one needs 2, and this one needs a minimum of 3. You see those little blocks right there. A different action you could take is taking any one of these ships that matches that criteria and putting it to one of the docks that doesn't already have a ship there. So for example, this player might take this, and you don't have to have your block on that ship. You can move a ship that's not yours. But when you move it there, they all load up to that specific place from front to back, no matter what. Now each of these areas do different things. Some of them, like the pyramids, are scored immediately. So for example, you have to start from right here, and it shows these little arrows going down. This player would get 2 points. If there was another player that was here, this player would have gone here and gotten 1 point, and you can see how the points differ. So over the course of the game, this is going to be building up, and if you do end up finishing this pyramid, that person would get 4 for making the 1 on the 3rd level, and then every additional one here just goes here for 1 point. Now if one gets placed into the temple of boat, basically this is going to start from left to right and work its way up. That space is only used for 3 or 4 players. But over the course of the game, this is going to get filled up. Once it gets totally filled up, you start again, and when you score this at the end of the round, it's always the top looking down. So black has 1, 2, 3, 4 points, covered up the gray one. Brown would get 1. And on the burial chamber, if a big full boat came in here, it also fills up the column first, up to down like this. Now this one itself gets scored at the end of the game. So if this is how it looked through the game, now connecting is not diagonal. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blacks that are connected. So they would get 15 points. Brown has a 2, which is 3, and a 1, which is 1, and another 1, which is 1. These two are not touching because they're not connected because they're diagonal. So they would get 3 singles for 3 points at the end of the game. Now the obelisks is also done at the end of the game. As these get loaded, there's the 4 different colors are right here. Essentially, you just stack these, and you're starting to make these obelisks as tall as you can. At the end of the game, whoever has the tallest gets, in a 4-player game, 15, 10, 5, and 1. And there's different score amounts for the different amount of players. If they're tied, they take the 2 spots that they're sort of tied for and add those up and divide them evenly. Now since there's only 4 boats, only 4 of these areas are going to get visited each round, but just to show you what this one does, when it comes here, white gets to pick out which card this goes to, and brown gets to pick out their card. Now there's 4 different types of cards here you can see by the different colors. The blue ones are important because you get this in front of you. Now the blocks here go back to the quarry after you've taken the card. Now this card, the blue ones are actions. This is the last possible thing you can do on your turn. Instead of grabbing blocks, placing blocks, or moving ships, you can use this special action card, and it just allows you to kind of break the rules of the game. For example, first one-time action, place 2 stones on 1 ship, or place 1 stone on each of 2 ships. So for a turn, you will turn this card in and use it. That's what these blue cards do. The red ones are immediately. Place one stone from this quarry into the burial chamber. So you can, the red ones are sort of an immediate thing. The purple ones are end of game. So depending on the number of statues, you have a certain amount of points there. Of course, these statue cards themselves is what they're talking about here. And this green one is basically end of the game. Earn 1 point for 3 stones in the pyramid, your own plus others. So you want people to be building the pyramid. At the end of the round, all these cards go off and 4 new ones come out. And as points are scored immediately and during the end of the rounds and such, they're tracked on this big track here. Now at the end of the round, this card would go away, a new one would come out, and we would set up the board all again with all the ships needed outside. At the end of the 6th round, or 6th card of this, whoever has the most points is the winner. If it's tied, whoever has the most blocks on their sled is the winner. Now all these different locations had an A side that I showed you, but they all have a B side. You can play them all on B, all on A. You can mix and match to tailor the game to your liking. For example, the different market, one of the spots is 2 face down cards. You get to look at them both, pick one and discard the other. Their pyramids, instead of having one big pyramid, there's 3 small ones. And so as you're building these, when you place on these, you get some special abilities like a point and one of these extra cards. Here's a point, you get to add up to 3 blocks to your sled. Here's a point, you get to add a block to a ship. And if you're on a 2nd level, because these small 3 of them only have 2 levels, you get 4 points for the 2nd level and then 1 for each additional point. Now the B temple is just like the other one, goes left to right, top down only. But when you're on the top of these certain things, you get a certain bonus. You can take a point or put 2 blocks into your sled. This one would get you 2 points. This one would get you one of those market cards. And this one, again, same 1 point or 2 things on your sled. Now the burial chamber works similar, but instead of having how many you have connected total, it's whoever has the most in each of the rows. And so it keeps working. They actually get put in by column like normal, but whoever has the most in the rows at the end is going to get the point. So first place is going to get 8 points, 2nd place 4 points, and so on and so forth. Now the B side of the obelisk works differently. It doesn't happen at the end of the game now. You would when you get 3 blocks here, you get to move them. So you have 1, you have 2, and then when you place the 3rd one, you actually get to stack them as one big stack here, and you get 10 points. Next person to get 3 of them, 9, 8, 7, and all the way through. And these points come right away once you stack them.
Well, there's Imhotep. Now I gotta say, this game's been on my radar since about last November when I first saw some pictures of it. I read about the description and I thought, oh, this looks right up my alley. Not a lot of rules, not a lot of actions, but possibly a lot of depth. So I initially had it on my list and then boom, it gets nominated for the Spiele Des Jahres and wow, look at what happened. Now let's talk about the game just as the game itself and then about its critiqueness of the Spiele Des Jahres Award. So the game's enjoyable. It's a fine family game. It does what a family game is trying to do, which is give you an easy rule set. Look, you're only doing 4 possible things in your turn. Most of the time, only 3 of those things are even options. And then even most of the time, you're probably just deciding between 1 or 2 options at the time. So it's a pretty easy game from a rules standpoint and a mechanics standpoint. But even within this decision making, there's a decent amount of depth there. My depth to complexity ratio, lots of depth, not a lot of complexities. So it does fit that family genre for me, and I did enjoy the game. Now with that caveat, I've got to say I do not recommend the game for 2 players. This game really, the biggest thing with this game is the interaction with other players, trying to figure out what they're doing, trying to get yourself in, maybe trying to get them to put a boat where you want to go and spend their action to get you some points. So a lot of this game really is the interaction with the other players. With 2 players, that interaction isn't nearly there as much. And for that, it's not one of those things where if I just have 2 people, this is not going to be a game I pick over many other games to play. If you're just starting a collection, this is one of your only games. Sure, it plays fine with 2, and it's okay. It just doesn't really bloom like it does with 3 or 4 players. Even with that being said, I think 3 is probably the sweet spot for this game. With 4, you've got a lot of things that are happening between your turns, and it's really just a matter of trying to get other people to move your boats for you. Once in a while you'll try to move one of your own boats to go to someplace you really need to go to, but you're spending a lot of resources to do that because there's not another turn for 3 other turns. So I think 3 is really the sweet spot between having a decent amount of control, but yet still having a lot of interaction. But regardless, 3 to 4 players, I can recommend the game. The bits in this game are awesome. As you saw in the overview, I thought these were just normal sized cubes. No, they're huge blocks as I showed you, and it really adds to the game. Having this big quarry built up looks cool, and it's thematic in that way. And then building them up as pyramids and such, it's fun stacking these large blocks, and as silly as it sounds, it adds a lot to the game. And the artwork's good, the components are good. So overall, I'd say it's a fine family game. It does what it's supposed to do. And if this Spiele Des Jahres was not a conversation in this, I'd say it's a good, solid family game. If you're looking for one, this is definitely one I'd recommend. But it has this Spiele Des Jahres nominee, so it has to live up to a higher standard, and it is going to get some more critique because of that. And with saying that, I did not like this game as much as the other two nominees. In fact, the other two nominees, the instant I played them, I went, whoa, this is earth-shattering. And after 20 plus plays of both of those games, I'm still enthralled with them and still loving them and knowing that they are special. This game I don't think is on that same platform. I don't feel it as special. I see it as a solid, fine family game that I enjoyed. It's not to that next platform. And that critique comes because it has to get that critique because it's up there with that nominee. So it's going to get bullseyes, it's going to get shot at, it's going to get critiqued. And it's a fine game. It's good. I didn't have any problems with the game. It is a little mean, and it can be a little aggressive. If you don't like things like, hey, I was thinking of doing something and you totally screwed me over, you're trying to mess with me, there is a decent amount of that going on with this game. So if you want a lighter family game that if feelings get hurt with your family when people mess people over, this is probably not the game for you. But if you're okay with that and fun, and you're okay that everyone's going to be messing each other over, then this is maybe one that you'll definitely want to check out. And for that is Imhotep.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter and making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.